Welcome to A Free Solution. It's Tim O'Connor, your Thursday host for WYSL and WACK's highly rated Libertarian Lunchtime Talking Politics with Tim, Larry, Kevin. Guys, this is always, like I want to always mention, this is an honor for me. This is exciting for me. This is wonderful. I hope you guys enjoy the stuff I put together for you. Today, though, we have the first segment is going to be, we're going to be talking about our friend Andrew Cuomo. All right. So I'm referring to an article that's dated February 7th, 2022, right out of Rochester, New York, WHEC TV. They asked the question, and guys, could former Governor Andrew Cuomo be planning a comeback? There have been rumors since he resigned back in August. And if you guys pay attention to this show, I have been adamant in saying that this guy is not done. He has a war chest of millions of dollars. There's only one way for him to use it, and that's in politics, okay? He's not done. All the charges have been dismissed, okay? He was found not culpable in the nursing home situation. He was, other than some clerical errors and some bookkeeping problems, like that's it. That's what he gets tagged with. All of the charges relating to his his sexual misconduct as governor, all of those charges have been dropped. He won those legal battles, period. His lawyers claim, well, of course they claim he's innocent, but Cuomo and his legal team have repeatedly challenged the findings of Attorney General James' report, which detailed the stories of 11 women who claimed that the governor sexually harassed or otherwise mistreated them. And guys, he's Italian, so like that's just how they are, I guess. I mean, I'm Italian, but I don't think people that have worked for me are going to be coming after. Don't think, I know they're not going to be, but whatever. Coming after me for sexual harassment. So, anyways, most of his aides and allies, like he's running what's called in politics, smear campaign. And he's basically going around to his former allies and his former donors and former high-ranking officials in the New York State public office and the public sphere, and he's calling to complain about the Attorney General Letitia James. And that's how politics is done. That's simply a reality, right? They do this to each other all the time. So basically, he's running a smear campaign. He's running around complaining about Letitia James. There's a pretty good chance that maybe he runs for Attorney General. I think right now, he'll probably step up and take credit for helping Kathy Hochul become the current governor of New York State. And I think he'll probably make some sensitive, completely woke comments about that, and then decide to run against Letitia James and guys, listen, I'll tell you what, if he runs, he wins. I hate to say it, but that is the state of the state in New York State. That's an absolute reality. If he doesn't win, I will frankly be amazed. I'm not kidding. Look, he destroyed the economy with his lockdowns. People fled the state. The school system, the healthcare system is damaged irreparably right now in New York State because of his vaccine mandates. And if he runs, he wins. If he runs, he wins. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. Could you though, guys, could you imagine a scenario where Andrew Cuomo is, I can imagine it, where Andrew Cuomo is the Attorney General of New York State and Larry Sharp is the governor of New York State. I'm just saying that would be hilarious. Like that would be epic. I don't know. I would love to see it. I think it it would be political theater, but oh my God, would it be amazing? So I don't want to spend the entire show on it, but I just wanted to tell you guys that first of all, I see it as a confirmation that one of my theories that I've been talking about for a long time is probably real, right? That the world and the political sphere is not done with Andrew Cuomo. And I think that that is probably well, first of all, it's unfortunate, right? Like, why can't this guy just go away? He still misappropriated like the state's labor force, right? By having his aides and people that were getting paid by the state government help him write his book. And like and his book, oh my God, right? And his book. So the New York State Department of Ethics or something like that's holding his $5.1 million for his book. Once he gets his hands on that, though, he's all set, man. He'll be a very well funded attorney general candidate. He has experience as the attorney general, and look, this guy has. I mean, he has no other abilities other than getting elected to office. So I'm not sure what else he would do. Like, what else is he going to do? Is he going to start a business? Like, who would work for him? Would it be what kind of business would he even start? Like, imagine any of those things being possible. It's not going to happen. Okay. So that those things are a reality. If he runs, he wins. I don't want to beleaguer the conversation about Andrew Cuomo, but I'm telling you right now, we're not done seeing that guy's face in our faces every single day. He'll find ways to be, especially if like, could you imagine like if he won and let's say Larry won and the oh my God, oh my God, that would be and that would be incredible and hilarious and epic for New York State. Um, not so much Andrew Cuomo women, but if Larry won and him and Andrew Cuomo had to battle things out on a daily basis, I think that that would be hilarious. But some of the other things that I want to talk about, Kevin touched on a no knock warrant in St. Paul, Minneapolis, and the guy's name was Amir Locke, and I do want to go do a deeper dive on that story. I do want to talk about a guy named Daniel Shaver. We go back a few years and how police can put themselves in bad situations and people end up hurt because of it. I'm not a big fan of no knock warrants, as you guys might have guessed, but I do want to give a little breakdown of the story because not so much that Kevin was giving bad information, but the information at the time was a little bit incomplete. And I do think talking about no knock warrants are it's an important piece of political discussion. There are Republicans, liberty-minded Republicans like Thomas Massey and Rand Paul, who Justin Amash is a libertarian, but these people are not in favor of no knock warrants and never have been. Breonna Taylor's law. We can maybe even unpack a little bit about the Breonna Taylor case, and as it pertains to this situation. And one other thing, guys, I want to talk about. Facebook is taking a shellacking in the financial markets, an absolute shellacking. And I'm telling you, Kevin and I talked about it last week. I don't know if you guys caught it, but the story, guys, the story at the time was because they weren't getting access to people's private data collection information. Like Kevin says, you get tagged with a pixel and all of a sudden ads for something, you search for something on Google, you get tagged with a pixel, it starts showing up on your Facebook feed. Like all of that is real. All right, but we're going to talk about what's really going on. And the pixel story seemed to work at the time, but I'm telling you, I am going to tell you what's really going on and how it pertains to Joe Rogan, because in some small fashion, it absolutely does pertain to Joe Rogan, and in a weird way. So guys, hang with me, bear with me, do your best to, hang on the edge of your seats waiting for this information. So no knock warrants, Facebook taking a slacking in the market, more about Joe Rogan. And guys, it's Tim O'Connor, the Freedom Variant. More than happy to bring you a different take on the news. And hopefully you guys enjoy it. I'll be right back after these messages. bonus content for you, the internet viewer. Guys, Kevin and I are going to be going live later on. If you're checking this out on Thursday, this show's obviously probably pre-recorded, as I pre-record most Thursday shows. But Kevin and I will do a live on Friday and do a little kicking around of the latest news. We'll break things down for you. I hope you hang in there, stick with me. Don't forget to check us out on Spotify. We're there. I am also on Rumble. I'm on TikTok. It comes at you guys all over the internet. We've got the Free Solution group page. I take it to Oneana Area Business and Politics. I take it to Tim O'Connor, the Freedom Variant page, the Kevin Wilson, the Libertarian page. Guys, this is just, anyways, it's a great honor to talk to you at least once a week and to get your feedback. So don't be afraid to like, comment, share, and do whatever else you can to kind of support the growing movement of liberty, even here in New York State. Once again, welcome back to A Free Solution. So one of the things I do want to continue on about a little bit about Andrew Cuomo and the state of our state in New York State. Look, guys, there's a reality that we have to deal with. The Democratic Party is, in fact, creating its own oasis in New York State. Now, whether we like that or not, it's a reality that we have to accept. So while it's a little bit depressing, there's opportunity out there for us. But I think that we have to take a look at our reality and the real reality that people that are likely to vote Republican have left. People that maybe even people that are likely to vote Libertarian. I don't know. But at least there was good news in that Zogby poll that we talked about last week. Something like 75% of New York State recognizes that the two-party system is broken. And in New York State, really, it's a one-party system, whether you like it or not. They re-gerrymandered the entire state. Like, I don't know. Anyways, it's a mess. It's an absolute mess. Our backs are against the wall. And right now, I'm going to talk about a no-knock warrant situation, guys. So I want to give you a personal breakdown of a story that was related to me. But it's not, I'm taking liberties with the story. I'm not telling not going to name people's names. I'm not going to talk about specifics of it, but I want to say this, that based on a text or a tweet from one kid to another, police in my area were compelled to confront a guy and his family at 2:00 in the morning. Now, I do not believe that they kicked in his door. They needed to do some research, but 6 police officers showed up at this guy's house at 2:00 in the morning to talk to his kid, based on a text, based on a tweet, based on something on social media, regardless. Okay. Now, this guy's very pro 2A. This guy will defend his family. This guy has, let's just say, for example, right, that this guy has a reasonable amount of assets that he knows are valuable to him and his family's valuable to him. That situation could have, guys, turned horribly ugly, right? So there are, I think police call them exigent circumstances or important situations where they have to break into somebody's house right away. This was borderline one of those situations, according to the law. Okay. Now, the odds of something happening, and guys, look, I know that kids use social media and they issue warnings, and we don't do anything about the warnings, and sometimes we miss an opportunity to help them or save them. All right, I get it. Okay, but at some point too, we have to realize that there's an issue of people who are amped up on opposite sides of a door, and And so we're going to talk about this guy, Amir Locke. He's a 22-year-old, a young man, a child. He wanted to be a musician. And so basically what happened is the police in Minneapolis went to a judge, got a warrant based on another a child, the 17-year-old young man who had been possibly involved in a homicide. They went and got a warrant to get this kid arrested and to bring him in. Now there was some violence involved in the original case. The person that they were after had been involved in a homicide, potentially, even probably, right? Police can say probably, and I can say probably. Okay. But what happened is they kicked in the door on this guy's, and here's the deal. This is where the details get kind of not necessarily fuzzy, but we don't always know exactly, no matter what, right? They have to, police officers and civil rights attorneys have to spin right from the get-go. And I find that to always be a problem as well. Like, we don't get really good information. Like, I was talking about Breonna Taylor and how her boyfriend shot a police officer, and how, like, basically another police officer shot into an apartment that wasn't even Breonna Taylor's apartment. Like, that's part of the story that never gets told. Okay. What we have is an emotionally charged situation. We have people who are afraid for their lives on both sides of that door, and they do not, nobody wants to go home. Nobody wants to die in these situations, right? So Amir is at his, I guess, his 17-year-old cousin's house. This is as near as I can tell, if I understand, because again, the news starts spinning right from the start. The police start spinning and everything like that. So Amir Locke at this 17-year-old's house, or at an apartment that this 17-year-old had access to. That's the part where it gets a little fuzzy, right? Like, should they have been kicking in the door there? We're not even sure about that. But here's even a worse detail. The St. Paul police originally did not request a no-knock warrant from a judge. But when the Minneapolis police went and were asked to execute the warrant, right? So there's that whole St. Paul and Minneapolis thing where they kind of overlap, all right? And so it gets a little confusing even there. But the Minneapolis police were asked to execute the warrant. The MPD, the Minneapolis Police Department, insisted that the warrant be changed to authorize it to be executed without first knocking. And this is, again, I'm referring to an article by A.J. Legou and at KARE 11 staff. It's dated February 4th, and then it was updated February 5th. So the warrant itself has yet to be made public, but the police wanted the advantage, the tactical advantage of a no-knock raid. And unfortunately, by all the looks of things, that resulted in a lawful owner of a concealed carry weapon to be shot. Now, yes, it's a terrifying situation for police officers to face a young man with a gun in an apartment when they're in pursuit of a kid that's involved in a homicide, right? And 17 to 22, there's not that much. It's hard to identify. They don't have enough time. So the issue is why did they want the no-knock warrant? They wanted a tactical advantage, right? That part we understand. But what would have been different if the no-knock warrant hadn't been issued? This kid would still be alive. Now, would the other kid have gone on to commit more crimes? I don't know. We don't know that. We're presuming, and we don't know. And they they basically arrested that kid the next day without incident. But so now a young man and a legal owner of a concealed carry weapon is now dead because of a no-knock warrant. That's it. I don't even want to blame the cops, right? I'm blaming the system. All right. I'm blaming the system. If the cops did not feel they needed that tactical advantage, if the cops were not able to afford themselves with that tactical advantage, this young man would not be dead. That's a reality. Okay. No knock warrants. And here's the reality too. In the Breonna Taylor situation, okay, cops got shot. And, and forgive me, right? Like cops got shot, and that's a tragedy as well. Breonna Taylor got shot. That's an absolute tragedy. An innocent person in another apartment got shot at. Okay. That's the cost of a no-knock warrant. That's the price tag of no-knock warrants. All right. And I think that the price tag's too high. All right. That the tactical advantage of a no-knock warrant is very much nullified by the danger it puts everybody in. I'm not blaming the cops, other than they need that no-knock warrant. Like, why did the Minneapolis Police Department feel so strongly that they needed a no-knock warrant? And look, guys, freedom Republicans and libertarians agree on this issue, that and libertarians and even a lot of people on the left agree on this issue, that no knock warrants put people in danger, no matter what your perspective is. The left wants to say it puts black kids in higher danger. The right wants to say it puts gun owners in higher danger. Guess what? You're right. Okay. That's it. All right. Deal with the fact that no knock warrants are more dangerous than the times. Like, they're trying to protect people from destroying evidence. There's a possibility that this kid who's on the loose is going to do more violence. There's also a possibility he's asleep somewhere. All right. So that's a reality. No knock warrants are dangerous. No knock warrants are a problem. We don't have to blame anybody. We can blame the system and say, look, let's deal with the consequences of not having no knock warrants. And what would those consequences be? All right. There's still going to be police response to difficult situations. There's still going to be reality checks all across our society. Okay. So let's deal with the reality that the system of no knock warrants puts, and guys, I have police officer friends and I have pro 2A friends, and I don't want them on the opposite sides of a door at 2:00 in the morning. I don't want them on opposite sides of a door at 2:00 in the morning. I don't. It is a bad idea. It's dangerous for everybody, man, for everybody. And no knock warrants, that's a free solution, guys, an absolute free solution. It will prevent tragedy. I'll be back right after these messages. All right, so maybe we do a little bit more about this. Maybe we don't. I don't know. It's a pretty emotional subject. It's an absolute tragedy what happened. It's an absolute tragedy, and it's going to spark, like, the Minneapolis Police Department's going to pay out millions of dollars. A lot of that stuff's going to happen. It's all going to happen, and no matter what, right? Amir Locke is gone, man. Like, that's it. Anyways, guys, that's bonus content for you, the internet viewer. We're going to talk a little bit about Joe Rogan after this. Maybe I do a little bit more on this. There's a guy that I don't think we know enough about that got shot by a police officer. And I think people need to know a little bit more about him. So maybe we talk about that after the break. But I'll be right back. Once again, it's me, Tim O'Connor, the Thursday host for A Free Solution. And once again, I want to give a shout out to WYSL, WACK. And look, this goes out to the Spotify's, the Anchor FMs. It's available on WYSL 1040 AM, 1040.com on their podcast page. And guys, You can check out any of our shows. You can check out any of mine and Kevin's work. You can check out shows with Larry Sharp. And so, look, it's important that we recognize that there is a possibility that the new media is forming, and that redneck guys from Central New York have access to people all over the country. And guys, I'm forever thankful for that. So before the break, I was talking about the devastating impact of no-knock warrants, and just they're just such a bad idea. They're dangerous for police officers. They're dangerous for individuals. And all too often, the story comes down like it does for Amir Locke, guys. Like, and all too often, the guys that kicked in Breonna Taylor's door, one of them took a bullet. And nobody, look, we don't want the violence. We don't relish the violence. We know that people are doing bad things, and we know that police officers can make mistakes. We know those things. And look, again, when it comes to this, the only mistake was executing at the only mistake that I can see that doesn't involve conjecture, all right, that doesn't involve the woke narrative of everybody who wants us emotionally charged, is the no-knock warrant. So, Minneapolis mayor decided to put a ban on no-knock warrants, and we'll see what that does to the crime rate in Minneapolis. I just don't think that, I just don't think the no-knock part of the warrant was necessary. Yes, a warrant for the arrest of the 17-year-old involved in a homicide. Okay. That is a problem, right? Okay, that kid is a problem. He needs to be brought into custody. He needs to be dealt with. He hurt somebody, or he's involved in hurting somebody. Whatever it was, that's real. Okay, and that needs to be dealt with. And we do need police officers to deal with stuff like that. That's also a reality. So guys, I've talked about him a couple times, and and I'm not sure if we should just, it's not really related, but I do think that if you guys get time, I think you should check out the story of Daniel Shaver too. It's an absolute tragedy what happened to this kid. Um, he was basically staying at a hotel with his wife. He had a pellet pistol in his luggage because he was a rodent exterminator guy, right? And he's gone now because a police officer put himself in a bad situation, issued some confusing commands, and it was around the time of one of those big mass shootings, I believe the Nevada shooting. So police were already on high alert. The claim that he held put the gun out the window, that's dubious at best. But anyways, let's just circle back around to end no-knock warrants, guys. They're too dangerous for police officers. They're too dangerous for law enforcement. They're too dangerous for innocent people that get caught in the crossfire. And that, guys, innocent people are police officers doing their job. And they get shot because of these things too. And so it brings too much emotion to that situation. But let's ease on off to it. What I think is going to be a little bit funner and a little bit more perhaps interesting. Okay. When I first started doing lives on Facebook, my Facebook feed would blow up and my friends would come in and I'd get people on there making comments, and there'd be 20, 30, 40, 50 people in my lobby. And maybe I'm more boring than I think I am, but my messaging hasn't changed. My lives haven't changed. I'm still reasonably trying to make jokes. I'm still bringing a somewhat conservative, mostly libertarian slant to discussions about news and politics and individual rights and individual liberty, and how our state of New York State has slid so far left that we have a program for anything that We have a governor who issues mask mandates. Okay. So basically now Facebook, and I always felt like Facebook stymied itself and stifled itself by not helping people like me and anybody that wants to broadcast some news, talk about news. Because as you know, I am 100% sure that the legacy media is dead and it doesn't know it. Okay. That CNN is dead and it doesn't know it. And that, guys, and some of you guys might watch Fox News. My mom watches Fox News. She regales me with stories of Tucker's latest pwn on Nancy Pelosi and stuff like that. No appeal. It has zero appeal. When Tucker makes fun of Nancy Pelosi for looking like Michael Jackson, that has zero, guys, zero appeal to me. I don't like Nancy Pelosi. Okay, I don't like her at all. I think she's horrible. I can't believe she gets reelected. All of those things can be true, but I still don't like it. Like, I still don't see any value in making fun of her for looking like Michael Jackson. So anyways, Facebook stock is tanking. And I'm going to tell you right now that the magnitude, the order of which it is tanking by. And guys, this show is on Facebook. So I hope, like, whatever, they don't get mad at me and cancel me, but I have advice for them. All right. And Larry Sharp will talk about the fact that he's been shadow banned. And shadow banning is where they throttle your views. And they got rid of, they quashed voices, guys, funny voices, because they don't fit the narrative, and they fact check them. And people were saying things about the vaccines that other people found interesting. Scientists wanted to talk about things like this on YouTube and stuff like that. And there was this concerted effort to still and quiet all of those voices, regardless of the rational perspective that they wanted to put on anything. Okay. They said one word out of line. Because there was a time, if you suggested that the coronavirus had interacted or was man-made or man-manufactured, you were banned and you had to sue your way to get back on. That's what happened to Zero Hedge. And they were the first ones that came out and said, this genetic component does not occur in nature. This is a man-fabricated thing. So here I am trying to bring this home, guys, and I've run up against a time thing, but I'm still pretty good right now. The issue is now here Facebook did all this work to stifle voices and basically either force you into paying them money, even though time on the platform is how they value themselves, and time on the platform is how they value their advertisers. They stifled all the voices. They took the fun out of these events, out of people showing up in your lobby and you having conversations with them. And so now Spotify says, you know what? Let's do something in the podcast market. And we're not done. All right. What they see and what they know is that competition can exist. All right. And these are huge platforms. And look, guys, check it out. Rumble.com, which I also broadcast my work to. But I don't understand the ins and outs of it. And there's not as many people readily available as there is on Facebook. But Facebook did this to themselves. They stifled voices. Okay. Regardless of whether you think the voice is sane or not, whether you think the voice is right or wrong, regardless, Facebook participated in stifling the voices and the reach of people who have different ideas than the mainstream narrative. Therefore, where do those people go? And a lot of them are listening to an MMA, drug, pot smoking, former Fear Factor host, former Man Show host, Joe Rogan. And look, he's dwarfing CNN. He's embarrassing them. So we're coming up on a break. I'm talking about free market competition and how maybe we're going to see a breakthrough in competition. Maybe we're going to see a breakthrough in communication. And maybe we're going to start to see that the CNNs of the world are, as you guys already see, as I already see, that the CNNs and even the Foxes and the MSNBCs of the world are largely irrelevant voices. I'll be right back. Tim O'Connor, the Freedom Variant. All right, a little more bonus content for you, the internet viewer. Guys, I hope you like the show. Check out the Daniel Shaver incident. I saw the video of it, and it's troubled me ever since. And look, guys, even as a libertarian, like the police need to exist. We want them to be safe. But ending no-knock warrants, guys. The other one is the whole qualified immunity issue. Maybe I'll try to circle back around on that in this last 12-minute segment. And discuss that a little bit too. But more on this whole Joe Rogan thing. I'm going to talk about him a little bit more. This phenomenon is something that I've been waiting for a long time. Anyways, I'll be right back after I take a quick break here. Welcome back to WYSL and WACK. It's Tim O'Connor on A Free Solution. I am the Freedom Variant. Guys, if you want to check out the stuff I do on Twitter, it's Tim, the Freedom Variant. If you want to check out the stuff I do on TikTok, it's at the Freedom Variant. And guys, I have the Tim O'Connor, the Freedom Variant page on Facebook. And so, look, I think it's important to kind of chase these things around. And before the break, I'm talking about what I see as the new media. And for a long, long time, my disdain towards the mainstream media has been palpable. It's been real. I knew, as probably did you, and I'm a long-term listener, long-time listener of talk radio. I was a huge Rush Limbaugh fan. Not so much for his advocacy for the Republican Party, as you guys might have guessed, because he was a huge advocate for the Republican Party, but he was a huge advocate for conservative communications and conservatives' thought processes in the Republican Party. And so I got to be a libertarian because, honestly, again, Republicans aren't really conservative enough for me, and conservatives are not sometimes too emotionally charged for me and too angry at foreigners for me and too angry about maybe too religious for me. And guys, that's with all due respect. I recognize the importance of Christian philosophy in our society and what the positive things that it has done, regardless of how people malign it in this day and age. Okay. So there's this whole other area where people love power associated with the state. And that is what we see exhibited in the mainstream media. The Foxes of the world want the power to go to the conservatives, and and even they don't really anymore. But to be perfectly honest with you, they all play you for ratings. They all play you for advertising. They all play you for all sorts of stuff. They do it to the left. They do it to you. Believe me when I tell you, nobody wants Donald Trump to be president more than CNN, because he was their lifeline. They made bank off of him. I'm not the only one to say it, and I'm not even stealing it from Jon Stewart, but even he said it, and he's a big lib. Bill Maher, the voice of reason. This guy, he's honestly like Joe Rogan being the voice of reason. When the mainstream media has divorced itself from reality and is only trying to stimulate your lizard mind, your emotional reactions to get you to engage with their content. Like Brian Stelter, that guy is a train wreck to prop himself up, because he's literally propped himself up because he's mainstream media, not because he's smart, not because he's cool, not because he has an interesting take on things, just because he's mainstream media. That's when you know they're failing. Okay. I don't mean that he's a bad guy, but his view of himself and his role in the world is absolutely ridiculous. Oh, and you know, another guy who I really didn't like, and I don't know if you guys, I didn't like Bill O'Reilly, and I was glad when he got kicked off Fox, even though I didn't think he got kicked off for good reasons. And maybe there was some debate as to what happened, but that guy, after enjoying Rush Limbaugh and enjoying Glenn Beck, to listen to Bill O'Reilly later on in the day would just, it would hurt my head, man. And he still hurts my head. I hear him on Sean Hannity every once in a while, and I don't listen to Sean Hannity very often, but he just hurts my head. He comes up with the strangest pro-government takes that he's like a conservative pro-government. That literally that he whatever, man. I don't mean to belabor it or belittle Bill O'Reilly, but he is definitely not my favorite broadcaster. And guys, I don't even have cable news anymore because I just could not deal with that nonsense. A day in, day out, CNN arguing with Fox arguing with CNN. I couldn't deal with it. And that doesn't mean that I don't like the points that Sean Hannity makes better than I like the points that Brian Stelter or that guy that they fired, that the Cuomo brother. Like his points are better, but I don't like his some most of the time, whatever. He's okay. And guys, I'm not knocking him. He's all right. I listen to him once in a while. I really do. But sometimes he drives me nuts, but not as much as Bill O'Reilly. Bill O'Reilly drove me crazy. But guys, I'm a libertarian, but the reality is we're watching the devolution of the mainstream media. Like, we are the mainstream media, and that's it. So what we were talking about before the break is how the Joe Rogan experience, first of all, dwarfs CNN. That Facebook is, and guys, Facebook, I'm on Facebook. Maybe they ban me for this. They have quashed themselves. They have destroyed their value because they throttled the communication in between people. And sure, did the algorithm like beat up on people's emotions and where did they pull back on that? Yeah, but what they also did was throttle voices like Larry Sharp's, like mine, like a free solution, like Radio Free New York. Does anybody remember Radio Free New York? Okay, that's what they did. They hurt themselves, and it took a couple years for them to figure it out. And now the stock market's figuring it out. It's not just, of course, they sold data, and of course, they connected people to products they wanted through their platform. That's a way that they advertise. But kids don't like Facebook. Kids have had it with Facebook. They go to places like TikTok. Guys, if you want to see an unvaxxed patriot trying to take bids on his mail stuff, you can see that on TikTok. All right. And look, I'm not kidding you. I'm not saying it's for you, but it's still better to watch people try to create. If you want to see a live stream of what's going on in Ottawa, Canada, where real people are telling you their real issues with Justin Trudeau and the authoritarian lockdown regime and the COVID mandates and what they've done to the truckers to stifle them making a living. Can you see it on Facebook? I don't know. I would never know, because even if you can see it on Facebook, they stifle it. They hide it. They bury it away from people. Like, they only show it to the people in the trucker group or whatever. Okay. They've got this game plan that was going to keep people from fighting. And guess what? Doesn't work. Okay. But if you want to see right now, I bet you could go on TikTok. I bet you could go on TikTok and find a live stream of people walking the streets in Ottawa watching the police confiscate gas and diesel from people that are bringing it in to support the truckers, watching the police block the road so that the truckers can't have food. Look, I'm not unsympathetic to the people that live in Ottawa. I'm really not. I was sympathetic to the people that lived in Portland. I was sympathetic to that. So I have to be sympathetic to the people that live in Ottawa. Like, that's a reality. And I think that the truckers probably know that. But the number one thing that should happen in Canada is Justin Trudeau should be gone. That guy is horrible. He started out lying about these guys. He started out besmirching these guys, and that only made their numbers grow stronger. He's creating a situation that is ripe for failure, ripe for a mess. They're going to clear the streets in Canada. Mark my words, okay? And the police are going to be the driving force. And if they have to, they will bring in the military. And that, you guys, is not a free solution. That's a real problem. And that's what's going to happen. So, sympathetic to the people in Ottawa. It's time for Justin Trudeau to resign. The guy's a train wreck. There's allegations, whatever. You guys should join me and Kevin, because I'm going to talk about who Justin Trudeau might actually be related to. And Kevin's going to try to tell me that it's been debunked. And I'm going to hit him with some serious facts that he is not going to like. So, and hopefully it's going to be funny. Hopefully he doesn't get mad at me. But Kevin is a little bit more cut and dried when it comes to the news, and he does a little deeper dive into it. I am literally a little bit more of a conspiracy theorist. I find humor in having conversations about these things. Now, how much of it do I take seriously? You guys have to keep tuning into this show to figure that piece of it out. So what we have is the breakdown of Joe Rogan is in a sense beating up Facebook and making the markets realize, okay, that Facebook may not be a viable platform because people are not engaging in it. They're engaging in it less and less and less. And that is an absolute reality. So when we take a look at these things and this reality that CNN is crushing itself, that Fox even is crushing itself, that the legacy media is absolutely been pushed aside and set aside and beat down by its own poor behavior. I just sit back and I say, I saw it coming, man. I absolutely saw it coming. And it's absolute fact. Like I saw it coming for years. So despite Spotify's slight censoring of Joe Rogan, despite some outrage about some of the things he's said and some of the things he's done, what people are hungry for and what he's offering them are valid conversations about science, about authoritarianism, whether he's actually discussed authoritarianism or not. He's had Michael Malice on, so he's discussed authoritarianism. He's had Alex Jones on, so he's talked about crazy conspiracy theories. I mean, he had Larry Sharp on, and man, what that was pretty awesome. It was so like, I think Larry said in one of his shows the other night that I was watching, like he did not himself realize just how popular Joe Rogan was. And because it was based on Larry Sharp went on a show, Larry Sharp, the size of Larry Sharp's YouTube channel doubled or something like that. And besides, Rumble offered Joe Rogan. I don't know if I mentioned this already, but I'm spinning in circles as I normally do. Rumble offered Joe Rogan $100 million to leave Spotify and go there, and they have the money. It's a very interesting possibility that now everyone's competing for Joe Rogan. Now, what they should do is prop up voices like the Freedom Variants, like Larry Sharps, like Kevin Wilson's, and get people to engage with us. And that's how their algorithm works. They can do it. I still have ways around the algorithm. If you guys want to check out my pages, it's Tim O'Connor, the Freedom Variant. Thanks again to WYSL and WACK. We'll see you tomorrow.